This this is the Impressions Exchange Podcast.
Impressions Exchange Podcast.
Where all topics impacting the graphic imaging and printing industry are addressed via in-depth news coverage, analysis, and timely interviews.
Hi, I'm Denise Gustafson, Editorial Director for Printing United Alliance, and the guest host for the special Printing Impressions podcast series in celebration of Women's History Month, highlighting women in the printing industry. During this series, I'll have the opportunity to talk with women from all segments of the industry about their experiences and their journey as a woman in the industry. So today it's my pleasure to welcome Theresa Aide. She's Director of Nonprofit Campaigns with Settle Strauss. So Theresa, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me today.
It is absolutely a pleasure. To get us started, can you give me a little bit of details about what you do as Director of Nonprofit Campaigns? So what exactly does that entail?
It's kind of twofold in a way. I'm focused on business development. We have a nonprofit market here that we've grown, and my focus is to continue to build that nonprofit market that we're working with. And then additionally, I'm overseeing all of the campaign work that we're doing for our existing nonprofit clients. Nonprofit work is really kind of focused on that annual appeal, fundraising stuff. And so an annual appeal, like it says, it kind of runs the course of the full year, and it's kind of figuring out the strategy of what that print and direct mail is going to look like for the year, and trying to come up with new ideas and keeping things on task with timelines and things like that. So just continuing to grow that business and work with clients to have them be successful in what they're doing.
That's a lot of fun. So you really do get to partner with a lot of those nonprofits as they're planning their campaigns and planning their marketing schedules.
Yeah, exactly. Because we have a graphic design team here. And so a lot of our clients use our graphic design team, and we do the print and the direct mail where we're incorporating a lot of variable and digital print. And so the strategy of that part, it can start anywhere to 4 to 6 months before they even launch a campaign. We're already thinking about the next year in August, say. We're already looking ahead to the next year and what that's going to look like when the current one isn't even done. We're already strategizing for the next year what we're going to do to improve results of what they saw in the current year. It's a wonderful experience that I'm so proud to be a part of with our team in just growing this line of business and working with these clients.
That sounds like a lot of fun. But I have to ask, how'd you get started?
It's interesting. I went to school not for print. I went to school to a 2-year business school to be an executive secretary. I started as a secretary for a plant manager in a publishing company in Dubuque, Iowa, and I knew nothing about print. The woman who I had replaced in that position, she had moved into customer service at this publishing company. So kind of fast forward a year or so, if you will. She approached me to say that she was being promoted to customer service manager, and she had asked me if I would want to move into customer service because there was an opening in her spot. And I was reluctant at first, just because even though I was working in this publishing company with a lot of big web presses and things like that, I really did not know the print side of anything. But she was very encouraging to me to make this transition into customer service. She said, you'll have so much more opportunity for growth, kind of moving into this sort of role. And she was very much supportive in that she would train me and help me learn about print. So I made that transition into customer service. And from there, I've really done customer service pretty much for 25 years until about 8 years ago, I decided to move into sales instead of customer service.
Change is hard. So
Yes.
for that first thing, especially when you don't know, how am I going to talk to these customers? I don't know what they're doing. I don't know how the technology works. I can understand how difficult that decision could have been.
Yeah, the initial part, when I think back to printing when I started 33 years ago in print, when it was film and things like that, how much print itself has evolved and still continues to evolve. But being in that customer service role for so long, it really became a point in my career that I felt that I needed to do something different. I needed to grow. And I had a lot of experience in the production side of things and just decided that I wanted to get into the sales side of things to kind of move into that part. And when you do that, you definitely you're wearing a different hat then. Even though you know production, you're in a different role than customer service. There's some similarities, but there's definitely a different role that you now have being in that aspect of things.
Well, now you're actually asking for the money in some
Yeah,
cases.
exactly.
I mean, that's a big difference, I would imagine.
And the part with that too is as you're planning jobs and trying to determine what projects are going to look like, you are now about trying to save clients money. You're trying to be the most efficient you can in planning jobs out for clients, especially like in the nonprofit industry, because they're trying to raise money. So you have to be very well aware of what their budgets are for their print and direct mail materials. So you are very in tune with making sure you're making the most of their spend and what you're doing for them.
And I'm sure they're appreciative of that because they want to get the most that they can do. Obviously, they're trying to raise money for their nonprofit, for the cause, but they know there's operating expenses. But the less they can spend in certain areas means the more they can spend on other projects and other programs.
Some of the things I look at too is like, look, if you're going to print an envelope in one color, then let's print it in one color. We try to maximize what we're doing with their spend in print, with what they're doing in direct mail. And especially, an area I've seen tremendous growth in what we're doing and what we're constantly pushing in terms of how we are programming things is the variable and the digital print, digital mail, the variable, the personalization, trying to make those pieces as customized as it can be that we're sending out for the direct mail, because postage is a lot as well. So it's making sure then those direct mail pieces are very much customized to those people that are receiving it. So we're always trying to.
We see the same things. You get a better response the more personalized it is.
Mm-hmm. And another avenue, just kind of in print itself, is now the past couple of years, we've started to do digital marketing. That's something it runs parallel with the direct mail campaigns. It's something that's complementing the direct mail. If you look at direct mail, that's really one impression per person, the direct mail piece. So this is now taking their mail list and running social ads like on Facebook. So by the time people receive this mail, they've already seen this ad that complements the direct mail a few times in either their social feed, Google ads, things like that. So this is now just another aspect of our business that we have brought on as a way to enhance our direct mail that we're sending out. And I've seen tremendous growth in that aspect, as well as clients understanding the importance of adding that social marketing along with their direct mail and tying all of that together to make it cohesive.
They're all complementary.
Yes, absolutely. It's enhancing one with the other. The thing I have found kind of specifically in this market, as with most people, many people wear many hats in what they do. And so they really are looking at a printer as somebody to help them because they don't have the staffing to do the extent of marketing that they need to on their end. So they're really leaning into us with our creative design, with what we have for marketing available, for the suggestions we make for print collateral, for direct mail, because they don't really have the staffing to do all of that. So they're relying on you to really help them come up with that strategy and that material to help them, because they just don't have the people that can do it.
Yeah. They don't have that institutional knowledge either in many cases. They just don't have the people. Nonprofits generally tend to be a little smaller. So they're, reduced on staff. So yeah, the more that you can help them, the more a partner you can be. I can easily understand how much they're appreciative of everything that the printers can do for them.
Yeah. One of the things kind of when I transitioned into the sales role and moving into that, the great thing about this is that I had a client that I had worked with for many years in customer service who was part of the nonprofit. When I made this transition into sales, into business development, she was actually the one that told me about a nonprofit conference. She had said, here's a conference that I go to that it might benefit you to go to this conference as a vendor to participate in this conference. And so we went to that conference, and that's really how this market that was really one or two nonprofits has grown into probably 30 nonprofits at this point. What that did also just for my own personal growth is I was never really a public speaker. In doing these conferences, eventually they had asked if I would speak, if I would present. and you're going to those conferences and you're speaking in front of a room full of people, and it's about educating them. You're giving them best advice on print and mail techniques. And if you had asked me 10 years ago if I thought I would be somebody that could speak in front of people like that, I'd probably be like, no. But I knew it was something I needed to do to grow. And you become stronger as you go through it. You have colleagues that are supporting you in that. And now, think nothing of kind of speaking in this, and I'm there to help offer advice on best practices to people in what they're doing. It's something that I love to do. That and hosting webinars. And I have had clients, clients that are so supportive of my path in that they're supporting me, that they are willing to do like webinars with me. Clients that will say, I'll co-host a webinar with you for stuff. And it's very rewarding that clients are in support of your success as well.
That's probably one of the biggest things is you have that support system, whether it's internally at your company or externally with some of the clients. I mean, you've had a number of role models that you can probably point to. You mentioned to the one woman early on that encouraged you to move into customer service.
Yeah, definitely a lot of role models as I've worked through this career, whether it's been on a personal level, just maybe my sister, she in a different industry, she just retired from the banking industry. She worked at the same company for 45 years, but she had been in a management role. And she, as a sibling, she was somebody when, we all have those bad days when things don't go. You've just had a day that's been a day, and you kind of need that voice of reason to listen to you, to be your soundboard. She was it. And then internally, I have very fortunate with colleagues that I work with here that are always so supportive of my journey and what I've done. And we support each other because I have bad days, they have bad days, but we are there for one another and build each other up, and being very supportive of what we do.
It's really important to help celebrate the wins that you have, to help prop you up when you might have a day. We all have, like you said, we all have them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some days are better than others. I completely understand. It's easier when you also have somebody within your company or within the industry that can understand some of the pain points that you have. For instance, my husband's in accounting. I don't know a whole lot about accounting. I hear a ton of stuff about it, but I can't help him in certain aspects. And sometimes I literally am just the sounding board because he needs to get it off his chest. But he does have some people within his organization that he can talk to specifics. How can I help solve this? How can I do this or that? There's a benefit to that too.
Yeah, when I moved into sales, one of my specific colleagues, her and I have worked together we have literally worked together for 25 years. We've known each other for 25 years. She was already in sales when I made that move into sales, and she was one of my biggest role models when I made that transition because she had already been in sales for a few years. She was there to guide me when I was not sure how things should work, what I should do, always there to give me advice. And to this day, we still are there for each other. We still work together. We're still here together. And we are our biggest champions of each other. Because having that person that you work with that you can rely on, it means so much from day to day.
Yeah, it certainly does. Now I'm going to change topics a little bit to talk a little bit about challenges, because obviously everything's not puppies and kittens and roses and rainbows every day. Although if you get me more kittens, I would be perfectly happy about that. But the industry itself, as we know, tends to be a little bit more male dominated. Obviously, as we've progressed, probably you can see it too, as you've progressed through the years of your career, it's changed. There are more women in the industry, but there's still lingering challenges that women face in dealing with a lot of men in that manufacturing and that printing manufacturing industry. Are there any specific challenges that you faced, and how have you overcome some of them?
Going into a different role, like I said, I had a lot of print experience. So you have that, but that doesn't mean that you know everything about the production side of things, but you have a lot of experience. So there was kind of that learning curve and those struggles I had in that transition of When you have something new that you want to try, you come up with a new idea, you want to try something different, you come up with can we do this? And you're told, no, that's not possible. One of the things I learned is you have to find your voice in understanding the why behind your being told no. I think it can be easy for somebody to tell you that's not possible, we can't do it, and kind of taking that for face value and saying, well, I can't do this. For me, it was understanding the why behind it. What are the roadblocks that prevent these things from being done, and challenging people on why we can't do something, and then figuring out an alternative way to do that. And in some cases, coming up with something that actually is better. It's maybe a less expensive product. So I think there was some challenges in that. I had to check myself in that I knew a lot about production, but I didn't know everything, and I needed to accept everybody's advice when they were giving it to me. But I also had to make sure that I stood my ground if I really felt passionately about something and challenging people on the production method that we were taking and doing things. I think that was one of the struggles in starting this out, was just people understanding I do have a lot of experience in this, and I would like to be heard in what I'm asking, in what we're doing.
So in regards to that, how did you make sure you were being heard? How did you get that why? How did you stand your ground? Are there things that you've done? Are there things that you've learned? Or how did you go and get that part of it? Maybe it's confidence, maybe it's a little bit of assertiveness.
It definitely growing your confidence for sure. But I think some of that would be maybe in the beginning, taking that, like I said, for face value, and somebody saying no, that something couldn't be done. And then you kind of get to an end product and you telling yourself, I wish I would have trusted my instincts and done this differently. And then that sort of conversation you have with yourself is then telling yourself to get that confidence to say, next time you need to press harder on this about why something isn't happening. It really is about trusting your instincts in what you believe in, and then having that confidence to reach out to other people. There's so many people that are here that are so talented in what they do. I don't run the press, I don't run the folder, I don't run all these pieces of equipment. So it's a matter of going out to them and finding out the why behind things, of why they can't be done, and finding out from them, this is what I'm thinking of doing. What is your suggestion about why this won't work? And so that kind of path to follow as you're working on projects, that's what's made me more aware of what I needed to do, and trusting my instincts and asking the right questions to the right people about things, and just not accepting the no's.
And I'm sure part of it's also about being respectful of those that do know more in certain aspects. Like you said, you don't run the press, you don't run the folders, you don't run the finishing equipment, but being respectful of their time, their experience. I think that plays and that goes a long way when you're trying to get that why.
Yes, absolutely. Though they are the experts, and they will give you the best advice on how to do stuff. Sometimes you can vet out a project before you put it through the plant, and then it didn't go as well as you thought it would.
Mhm.
And then it's a matter of, okay, let's go back and regroup. It's not a matter of we can never do this again because it didn't work. You need to figure out at the end of that project, if it didn't go as you had thought it was going to go, regrouping, analyzing that with the team to figure out, how do we make this better? And bringing everybody in that's kind of a part of that to have a say in their suggestions about what helps to make that a better product, and building those relationships with everybody within the company.
Definitely. Another question, though, kind of on this topic is, how do stereotypes play into this as well? Because obviously you're a woman, asking that why, wanting to know more, maybe pushing a little bit more than normal about certain projects. What kind of stereotypes have you seen in the industry? And is that something that you've been challenged with over your years of your career?
That kind of takes me back to many years ago, a memory of kind of being on a call with a client who was upset by something, a male client, and who just really kind of laid into me about something. It was not appropriate at the time. I remember hanging that call up and just crying
Mm-hmm.
because this man felt that it was okay to just kind of tear me down, if you will, over something. And those are the sort of moments that you realize would he have done that if it was a man on the other side of the phone? And you have those moments that you grow from that. Those are just moments that you have to grow from, and you have to realize that while you don't want to acknowledge the fact that there are stereotypes in this industry, they have to recognize that they're there, but you can't let them stop you from moving forward. You can't let them define who you are. You can't let people kind of get in your way with that stuff. You have to stand your ground with what you know and what you believe in. And sometimes you have to stand your ground in this industry and what you're doing, especially in this sort of, in any role that you're in print, but especially when you are a voice of a client, because that's kind of what my role is in what we do. I'm a voice of a client. I'm vocal for them in what we're doing. And so I have to just, if there's stereotypes, I have to set those aside and just stand by with what I'm working on and what I believe in.
Have those stereotypes changed? Do you encounter them as often as you might have years ago?
No, I don't feel that I'm encountering them like I did many years ago when I started in the industry, because I think what I've seen, when I think about kind of when I started, even 25 years ago when we started here, there were no women in the sales position. They were all men. There were no women in these roles. Now we have women in management roles here. We have women in the sales roles here. I do think that stereotype has gone away because there are so many more women now in this industry in these sort of roles that maybe once were male-oriented roles. They're now being held by women in these roles, and the women are proving that we're very knowledgeable in what we do. We have great ideas. We support each other. And we also are here all for the same reason. We're all here to achieve the same sort of end result, all of us together, male or female. We're all in this to get to the same goal together.
Yeah, you're a team. I mean, for you, you're an advocate for your client. So you might be the voice for the client. You might be the one that's standing there in front of the team, but it's all of you that are making sure that that project goes well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Everyone's in it together. And like I said, I'm very fortunate in having so many people here that are just so crafted in what they do. It takes that whole team, because everybody's an expert in their own field of things that we're working with, especially when you're working on direct mail projects. There's so many different aspects of the production side of things that go into that you, from customer service to creative design to variable to data processing to mailing to bindery. There's many different people that are involved in that process of getting those projects through.
One thing you've mentioned through a lot of your answers that I've heard is the importance of training, the importance of educating yourself. Part of that's also networking. You said you went to the nonprofit conference. How important has all of those components been in your own professional growth?
The growth in kind of just on the social side of things, in social marketing, establishing your personal brand, establishing who you are, and then networking. When I started, LinkedIn was an account I had, but I never used it.
Mm-hmm.
I quickly learned that LinkedIn, that itself became something that was a way to connect with a lot of people. You're also establishing your brand that way. You're also establishing who you are, what you know, what you do. You're showcasing your projects and what you're working on. So that itself has helped my growth tremendously, because it's an avenue for me to showcase what we do and what I know about print and mail. And also to, like I said, hosting webinars or speaking at conferences. That's another avenue that we're taking to promote those sort of things, for people to come to those conferences, to sit in those sessions and listen to what we're talking about.
On the same topic, how important has it been for you personally to be able to learn, to be able to network, to build your own personal brand beyond the company?
It's something that, when the years of work, the years of being in this industry, it is your identity and who you're building yourself to become. And it's something that you become very proud of, the work that you do. And it is kind of who you are in your life. This is your path that you're taking. This is the role that you're doing, and building my confidence, learning about who I am, and knowing that this is what I was meant to do. I'm doing what I was meant to be doing. And establishing those relationships with clients are very important to me in the role that I've taken. And that being the voice of client that I've talked about, that's something that is part of who I am and what I do in meeting these clients and speaking with them and building my brand.
You're very fortunate in the fact that you found your passion, you found your role. Not a lot of people can say that they have. You
Mhm.
obviously love what you do and how you work with the nonprofits, how you're their voice. You found yourself and you found your brand, and everything you do just kind of emphasizes that as well.
And part of that is for myself, it's never kind of being, you never want to become satisfied with where things are right now. Like, this is good, but how do we make it better?
Hmm.
You're always looking ahead as to how can we change something to do it differently and make it better. Constantly, you're just constantly evolving, and whether that is in just how you develop collateral that we're printing, but then as the print industry has evolved and we bring in different printing equipment, when I think about where I started when print started, and you think about the digital presses and the presses that we have now and what we're able to do, it's really figuring out what those presses are capable of doing and then maximizing the material that you're developing based on what that press can do, and pushing the limit, if you will, with
Hmm.
with saying, I have an idea for this press. Will this work? Because especially fortunate and subtle in that we're constantly getting new equipment in. They're always looking ahead as to what's the more advanced equipment, what direction do we need to be going in as a print provider to people. And so that has given me the opportunity to understand better what we can do with print collateral, because I have the tools available to grow that.
It's great that you have that resource, that you have that Subtle Strauss is so forward looking. What's the next best thing?
Mhm.
Not necessarily maybe for speed, it's important, but what else can we do? Can we do different embellishments? What else can we do to make these products that we're producing even better?
Exactly. And even just kind of 5 years ago, how much stuff has changed in what we're doing. And plus, it's being on top of other things too, with direct mail, promotions, postage, all these direct mail kind of things that you are learning too as you're going, because that makes up a lot of cost too, is
Hmm.
postage and direct mail and those kind of aspects. So there's just so many different variables that you kind of have to stay in touch with to stay on top of things. So that's what makes it very exciting in this role, is no day is the same.
That's what makes it fun, honestly.
Yes, it does.
So, as we're wrapping up, the last question I love asking, it's the same question I ask all our women. Knowing what you know now, so looking back at the career that you've had within the industry, what advice would you give yourself if you were just starting out now?
Don't let your mistakes define you. Mistakes will happen. You will make mistakes along the path. You cannot let those get you down. You cannot let yourself feel like those define you, any mistakes that you made, because you will stumble along the way. What you need to do when mistakes happen is, those are the things you need to grow from. You need to learn from those mistakes. You just need to move forward with those, and realize that things that you learn from when things happen, because in this industry, not everything goes as planned, and you learn from those mistakes. Don't get down on yourself ever about them. They're all growing opportunities in what you're going to do. Don't get down on yourself about those things when it happens. It's all a growing experience when mistakes happen. And that's what makes you better and stronger as you grow in this industry.
I think that's wonderful advice.
Thank you. Thank you. Advice to live by. Just thinking back on my career and just things when it has happened, and it's easy, I think, to get down on yourself when something goes wrong, but it's how you grow.
Hmm. As much as we want everything to go perfectly, not going to happen, unfortunately.
Sometimes I tell myself, if there's a problem that I'm dealing with today that seems like this is such a mess of something, I tell myself, by this time next week, it'll be over and it'll be moved on and I'm working on something else, right? You've got to kind of look ahead of it and just say, this time next week, this is going to be done, over, and you're moving on.
Nothing's insurmountable.
No, never.
Well, Teresa, it was an absolute pleasure talking with you today. So I want to thank you. I appreciate the time you've spent.
Thank you so much.